The present study is about the morphology of angiosperm. This is very important when you take up the systematic study of angiosperm. When you want to identify a particular plant, particularly in the angiosperm, you must thorough with the morphological features of the plant. First, now I am going to describe some of the important morphological character you will observe when you go for classification of angiosperms. Initially, I will start with the plant. Plant you can, although you know about very well about the plant, wherever you will find there is a upper stem. Similarly, the underground part, the root also highly branched, similar to the stem, except that there is no leaf or bud in the root system, except a few cases. Otherwise, the root and the axillary bud, flowers and everything you will find only in the stem system. The next slide, this slide shows the lifespan of the plant. Based on the lifespan, the plants are divided into three groups: annual, biennial and perennial. Annual plants that completes its life cycle within a year, for example, a sunflower, or that is the binomial is Elianthus annus. The second one, the biennial plant, it takes up 2 seasons to complete its life cycle. Example for this is Raphanus sativus, that is a radish plant. What happened here in this plant, the radish plant, first year it produces the root system, well developed root system. The food material, it is the food material which is stored up in the root, and that is going to be used in the second year or the second season. So, the entire food material which is found in the underground part used up by the plant for the reproductive structure, producing the reproductive structure. So, second year if you pluck the plant, you will not find a radish. So, you will simply find the flowers and fruit. This is known as biennial. So, it take up 2 seasons to complete its life cycle. And the third one, as you know, it is a perennial plant. That is a common thing. Perennial means every year it produces flowers and fruits. So, it completes continually growing. Every year it produces flowers and fruits. That is known as a perennial plant. There are many examples, even Tamarindus indica or the Ficus bengalensis, any other tree plant. You take as an example. And based on the habit, we divide the plants into 4 groups. Herb, the herb which is got a weak stem and less than 1 meter height. This kind of plant is known as herb. Normally, it will not go beyond 1 meter. So, for instance, this slide shows this is the common mint plant, and it is growing less than 1 meter height, and it has got a weak stem. And the second one, this is a shrubby plant, and this is more than 1 meter height and less than 20 meter height. And another important thing about a shrubby plant, many branches coming below the basal part. So, for the better example for this is Hibiscus rosa sinensis or your guava tree. These are all the example for shrubby plant. So, less than 20 meter it is normally grows. The third one, it is a tree more than 20 meter in height, and it has got a woody stem. For instance, as you seen in the slide, it is Tamarindus indica. So, that is growing more than 20 meter, and it has got a woody stem and bark, everything. This is considered to be a tree. Then comes to the climber. It is a climbing plant with the help of tendril or other some kind of morphological adaptation. It is growing on other plant, but it will not disturb other plant. It is simply growing on the other plant for supporting purpose, because it has got a weak stem. And this another photograph shows the climber how it is grows on the other plant. Then based on the consumption of water or the availability of water, the plants are divided into 3 groups: hydrophyte, mesophytes and xerophytes. Hydrophytic plants, plants grow only in water or in the moist area, whereas mesophyte, that is found in the mesic environment in a normal temperature and water, whereas xerophytes you will find it is found only in the desert condition or water scarcity places. This hydrophyte, it is Nymphaya pubescens, and this is there are many types here: hydrophytes, free floating or submerged plant, or this is also adapted for aquatic environment. So, because it has got a long petiole and other thing. Then mesophyte, it is in a mesic environment. Most of the gymnosperms are mesophytes. Then coming to the xerophytes, xerophytic plants or plants having found water scarcity places, and there you can find the entire leaves modified into some kind of structure. Here in this case it is modified into a spine, and this spine also there we will find actually the leaf should be there, but the leaf is highly reduced or absent. Instead of that, that spine is there. And why it is leaves are absent? Because of the stomatal cavities, there is large amount of evaporation from the plant, and in order to avoid that, you will find it is the leaves are highly reduced or completely absent, and that is get modified into some other purpose, like a spine as you seen in this cactus plant. And this is protecting the plant from foraging animals. And another thing, because absence of leaves, it will not synthesize its own food material, and the stem is modified into a leaf like structure. This is known as a phylloclad. This is known as a phylloclad, and this is an important feature. Many of the xerophytic plant you will observe this condition. Leaf is absent, stem take up the part of the function of the leaf. Then coming to the based on the host parasite relationship, the plants are divided into 3 groups: epiphytes, parasite and saprophytes. Epiphytic plants, the plants which are simply growing on other plants, but it will not disturb the host plant. It is only, it will use as a substratum, the host plant used as a substratum. Then coming to the parasitic plant, it is partly absorbs its food material from the host plant, and sometimes even kill the host plant finally, because it will get all the nourishment only from the host plant. Sometimes it is total parasite and sometimes it is partial parasite, as you seen in this diagram. The partial parasite, it will synthesize its own food material, part of the food material, and the remaining part it is absorbed from the host plant. And this is another epiphytic plant. And finally, the saprophytic plants, which are all actually used only the decayed food material, and it will not synthesize its own food material because it is already white, it will not having a chlorophyll pigment. So, this is a saprophytic plant, it will absorb only whatever it is a decayed material available in the soil substratum. So, it will secrete some enzymes and absorb the decayed food material through its root. So, this is saprophytic plant. Some of the family members like Balanoporaceae, that is particularly we can observe the saprophytic plant. All the Balanoporaceae members are saprophytic plants. And this is a flower of the Balanophora. And then coming to the root system. root system, there are it is divided into, so far we have seen the shoot system, and the root system divided into taproot and fibrous roots. Tap roots will find very highly branched, and this is a characteristic feature of dichotomous plant, and whereas fibrous root system, it has all adventitious roots, and this is actually a characteristic feature of most of the monocots. There are many fiber like structures or roots coming out from the basal part. Apart from the radical main root, there are additional adventitious roots, and this is known as a fibrous root system. It is a characteristic feature of monocots. Then the root modifications. What are the ways you will find the modified root system to store the food material for other purpose? So, first one, fusiform roots, and both the ends are tapered, and actually the upper part is broad and the lower part is tapered, as you seen in Rapanus sativus. Then conical roots, it is in conical shape, as you seen in the carrot Daucus carota, that umbelliferae member. And then third one, the napiform roots, both sides are narrow, and as you seen in beetroot. So, these are all some of the important morphological modifications of roots. Then apart from that, there are special type of roots which is adapted, which are adapted for the particular environment. For instance, the mangrove plants, there are some kind of adaptation you will find in mangrove plants, like nematophores. These are all the special kind of roots which are commonly known as breathing roots, which will observe in the mangrove vegetation, particularly plants like Avicennia and other plants. You will observe that it is negatively geotropic. It is coming above the soil, because already there is, it is in, the plant is in salt water. In order to get the breathing, it is coming out of the soil and observe the get the air from the environment. So, this is otherwise known as breathing roots or nematophores. And this another type of root is known as a prop root. This is also special kind of root, and this is otherwise known as the supporting roots, and this is also you come across in mangrove plants, because the most of the mangrove plant has got a weak stem system, and these supporting roots actually supporting the plants in the during the high wind or high tide. It is actually supporting the plants. So, this is known as a prop root, or otherwise known as supporting roots. This is another photograph of the same. Then so far we have seen the root modification. This is about stem modification, phylloclad and cladode. Phylloclad is a phyll means leaf, clad means stem. So, stem is modified into a leaf like structure, as you seen in the case of the first diagram, Opuntia. It is Opuntia delinei, where you can see it is a xerophytic plant, because of it is in water shortage environment. So, there is no leaves. Instead of that, you will find the stem take up the function of the leaf and store the food material. That is why it is green in color. This is known as a phylloclad. Another example for this is the second diagram, and that is known as Mucklenbeckia. It is a flattened leaf like structure, but it is a stem modified into a leaf like structure, and in the nodal region you will find minute leaves. This is the original photograph of the phylloclad, and another one is cladode. Cladode is a whereas phylloclad entire stem is modified into a leaf like structure, whereas here cladode only certain part of the stem is modified into a cladode, particularly in the nodal region. For instance, the first diagram shows it is a ruscus plant, and there you can see above the leaf you will find there are flowers. Normally the flowers found in the axil of the leaf, but in this case it is the upper part of the leaf that shows the flowers in the upper part of the leaf shows it is found in the nodal region. So, it is a node. So, leaf that is not a leaf, it is a modified stem. The second diagram shows it is the plant Asparagus racemosus, that is belong to the family Liliaceae, where you can see the stem like leaf like structure or modified stem, and the leaves are modified into hooks. This is the diagram of the ruscus plant with the fruit and the flowers, and this is asparagus plant with the leaf like structure, that is nothing but a modified stem. Then the third category, phyllodes. Phyll means leaf. Here the lower part of the petiole is modified into a leaf like structure. So, this is an example as for a phyllodes. Example for this is acacia plant. Commonly what you seen in the diagram is a flattened leaf like structure is nothing but a petiole or rachis of the plant, acacia plant. Then comes the underground stem modification. It is first one is stem is underground stem. So far we have seen the root, and this is underground stem, how it is get modified. So, this is bulb, commonly known as a bulb, and example for this is Allium cepa. As you all know, although it is look like a root, and you can see a characteristic feature of the stem, fleshy leaves. Actually, the lower part which is found in this region, the lower part of the onion, it is normally that is the stem, and the remaining part all leaf, fleshy leaves, and this is Allium cepa. The second one is calm, which is very much similar to the first one, but only thing is here with the distinct node and internode. You can see in the diagram photograph, this is Amorphophallus, and this wild edible yam. So, edible yam, and you can see the node and internode. There you can see if you cut and put it in a moist place, it will produce a new plant. Rhizome. Rhizome similar to other two, but this one is horizontally growing stem with a distinct node and internode, and in the nodal region you can see some scale leaves. So, normally only in the stem you can find node and internodes, and this is why we call it as this is horizontally growing stem, rhizome. Example for this is Gingiper officinale, okay, Gingiperaceae. This example for this comes under the family Gingiferaceae. Okay, one more stem tuber. This is a tuber, Solanum tuberosum, and this is why we call it as a stem, because you will find there are many nodes and internodes. So far we have seen the morphological character of the stem and root, and also the modification. In the next class we are going to see the structure of the leaf. This is another part of the vegetative character, and then we will move on to the reproductive character. Thank you very much.